Hey, so what acting technique or techniques do you teach?
The acting technique that I came to town with was Meisner. I'd worked with Bill Esper. But when I looked at the logics of trying to teach a Meisner class with the different levels that it needs, I wasn't sure I could make a living doing that. So for selfish reasons, I went to the Chubbuck Technique.
Okay.
And I had worked with Ivana in California before I came out here. And it's the one that spoke to me.
Okay, so would you say that's your focus?
That is my focus now. If there's a base that I use, it is Chubbuck. I think that she answers all the questions for all of the techniques. She pulls them all together in her training. You know, when I think about the Chubbuck technique, I think of a student that I had once. And he said he had finally found a technique that spoke to who he was. He had finally found languaging for what he was organically trying to do. And I think what the Chubbuck technique does for me, when I think about it, is that it pulls me into a direction of truth. Using me as the main instrument, which I think all acting techniques do. You know, it's just which one speaks to us individually. When I found Ivana, I was looking for an acting class. I was living in California and I hadn't done anything for a while. And I found a book and it said the 12 something.
Yeah.
I thought it was a recovery book. And so I thought, well, if I can recover and continue my recovery with acting, let me do it. And then when I got home and I began to read it, I was surprised at what it was. I was excited that I had found it, that I'd stumbled onto it. And I don't know if I've answered the question, but...
What is the length of time they should study an acting technique?
Well, when you look at the major acting institutions in the English-speaking world, they're all 3 to 4 years. You look at the Juilliards, the European, they're that long. Because what they're doing is they're creating a full instrument with the actor. Physical, emotional, the speech and all those kinds of things. I think that an actor, for my opinion, needs to look at what his needs are. And then based on what his needs are, since we're in this kind of an environment where we're not in an institution, find a place where he can continue to grow using the technique that's working for him. I don't think there's a time limit at all. And when it comes to auditioning, those kinds of things, audition. Take your butt in there and audition. You know, there's some brilliant actors who never get hired. So the skills that we develop as an actor should be a thing that we bring to our work. I think that just quantity of experience leads to the quality of work.
Okay. Once a technique is, the gist of it is learned, is it necessary to continue practicing that technique?
You know, it's funny. Technique is one of those things I think that's necessary for freedom. I believe that once we have a technique, once we find what that is, it gives an actor freedom. I really think that what we as teachers do is to help an actor to find what works for him. And then, now we have names for it. We have Meisner, we have Stanislavski, we have Chubbuck, we have, But the truth is, we're looking for a way to help the actor find his truth. And as long as the actor is finding his truth by what we call in my studio failing forward, then it's great. But I think that we just need to learn how to be creative. We need to learn how to fail. We need to learn how to experience the creative process. And when the creative process isn't happening, we can go back to the technique of how to get into that place. That's kind of what I think.
I like that a lot. How long should a new actor study before they are ready to start auditioning?
Well, I believe what I said before. But there are basic things that we as instructors can teach an actor. I think that whenever somebody's going in to audition and they're putting that energy on, you have all the power, I want you to like me, then it stops our creative juices. It stops us from being really authentic. And I think that they should go in there and do their thing. But I've found with my students, depending on the level at which they come in, that's the level at which we work with them.
Is there a benefit to studying more than one technique?
I think there is. I really think there is. I have a fondness for my Meisner experience. I was with Bill Esper. I was in New York. I was working. I was kind of broken, after having done my first film. And my first film, I would say I was using more of the Stanislavski technique, but not the true technique. I was using it the way that I had been taught. So I kept on wounding myself to find that emotional truth. And I know now that's not what it is. So when I met Bill and he said, I can teach you how to do that without hurting yourself, I thought it was amazing. And then when I got to California, when you study with him, you know, you're not going to go someplace else. And I actually had asked him, could I train actors? But he told me I had to be out there for 10 years before he'd let me do that. Because he wanted me to have the experience of acting. But when I found Chubbuck, it made sense of some of the biggest failures I thought I'd had. I could book those big roles, the ones that had all that emotion attached to them, where I had to die or that kind of thing. But I was having a really hard time making the bread and butter acting choices as a director or as something that's more cerebral. I couldn't find the power in that, and I didn't know why. So my friends are buying houses and doing things because they're playing doctors on this show and lawyers on that show, but I'm the one every 6 or 7 months I get a big role and people go, wow, but I can't pay my rent. With Ivana, with the Chubbuck Technique, I learned that I had to make it personal. I learned that I had to find that thing in me that desperately needed this. And I had to not play the script. I had to play the need. When that came together for me, my life opened up, you know.
Good. Again, what do you think will make all actors in the Atlanta market better actors? And start whenever you feel it, and start and stop if you need to.
What every actor needs is to recognize that we don't want to see them acting. What every actor needs is something inside of them that pulls at a need. You know, I believe that we act from our insecurities, we act from our pain, we act from our need, and we demonstrate that need when we're working with the other actor. Please give this to me, right? Well, that's one thing that I don't see a lot of actors doing. I don't see them like changing the other person. I don't see them needing something that makes me care about them, okay? Then the second thing is, I don't think that there's a professional level that we need to teach our students, that you're not only now competing with people in Atlanta, you're competing with people all over the country. And when you look at the tapes of people who've gotten the jobs, they don't look like they're acting. They're living moment to moment. They're authentic. Who they are is enough. So I actually just believe that we've got to give them the tools to do that kind of work and recognize that there's only a part of the work that is about our acting. Another part of our work is about how do I market that acting on this screen that they're putting us on.
Right. Do you feel that an actor should have I don't care which technique, but some sort of technique as a foundation in order to do what you were just talking about?
I think it's imperative.
Okay.
But I don't think that an actor has to follow your technique or my technique or anyone's technique. One of the things that I remember hearing a long time ago was Jessica Lange talking about she had studied with all kinds of people and she had taken from each one of them what she needed, and that she had made her own technique out of that. And I find that being an actor and being a teacher, I get a chance to constantly review, renew, and share what I'm learning. So I do believe that good actors all have a technique, but I don't think that all technical actors are good.
Yeah. Why do you teach?
I began teaching because I wasn't acting. I began teaching because I was invited to teach a master class when I first got to Atlanta. Somebody from California who knew me suggested I do that. And to get my master's degree, we had to teach, you know, so I had been doing it off and on. And I got noticed by Fox News because I was new in Atlanta and I had been a working actor. And they put it on their morning show and I got a class full of people who were there for 8 weeks. At the end of the 8 weeks, they wanted to stay, but I was under contract to somebody, so I asked them, could they please let me have the studio? And I began teaching. Several times I was teaching because I was afraid to act. Several times I would look at my students and I would be in such awe of the courage that it took for them to be where they were at. I also thought that I knew a lot more than I know. And when I went back into acting, I realized how much I had forgotten, that I was rusty, and now I teach what it is I need to learn.
Victor, what is your guilty pleasure?
Yes. What is my
Nothing to do with acting. What's your guilty pleasure?
rum raisin ice cream from Haagen-Dazs?
That's awesome. Yeah, his is cooking shows, and mine is watching people like hurt themselves on skateboards. You know?
I'd say a pint of pumpkin, like some kind of pumpkin ice cream from Jenny's. You know that shit? It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Jenny's is dangerous.
You know, I've got to that age now where my body's beginning to be the body of a man who's older.
Yes.
And so eating ice cream is one of those things I think about all the time. And I think, well, if I work out long enough, maybe I can eat it. And then there's days where I'm like, fuck working out. I'm going to eat the ice cream anyway.
So, grown-ass man, I
yeah.
can just ice cream. Huh?
Yeah.